to record. Let me just repeat again. Now, for those that were not there in the previous class, we were doing on what we call the Excel functions. And we did on various, some of them. We began with the VLOOKUP, the count ifs, the county. We also talked about what we call the count if. We talked about the VLOOKUP, the counter A, the count, the sum if, and then now we are doing on what we call the sum ifs. Sum if is when you are given your Excel more than one condition. Like, for example, the data that we were having there was on projects. And these were the projects being implemented in different counties. And we were given the project money, were given the budgeted amount. We had also what we call the project cost, the admin cost, and so forth. So for the sum if, the one that I was indicating here, I said in a sum is when you're doing for one condition. You want to know the total money disbursed on what we call the higher learning only. Because we talked about various projects here. There was higher learning, there was road construction, there was research, was medical, and so forth. So we want to do now what we call the sum ifs. For those that missed the class, by tomorrow I will have updated the first 3 classes that we've done. So you will make use of the app. Just in case of any challenge, kindly you will text my number, and I know if you don't have my number, this is my number, 14166 318. That is Japheth. I'm the one who is taking you through the BDA. So make sure that you have that number, the 07 there, 07. So that is it. Yeah, the 07. That is the number. If just in case you miss a class, you can use that number. Now, if you don't understand a concept, you will use that number. Now, let me get the sum ifs here, the summations. So we want to know the total amount of money disbursed on higher learning in Nairobi. So we'll begin with is equals the sum ifs. So the sum rate is where we want the summation. So summation here will be from the disbursed amount. So I'll click Control Shift arrow down. I highlight the disbursed amount. Once you highlight disbursed amount, you can put a comma. Then now we go to criteria range 1. Is those that are taking what we call in the higher learning, and this should be in Nairobi. So criteria range 1 is for the project. So I'll go up to where the project is. I will highlight the projects. Where is it? Yeah. I can place on Control Shift arrow down. I highlight for that. That is criteria range 1. Criteria in range 1 is what? We want for higher learning. So you put a comma, continue. You go to criteria range 2. This should be now in the county. So you place on the county there, Control Shift page down, comma. What is in the criteria 2? They should be higher learning in Nairobi. That way. So you'll have that in Nairobi. Then you can close on that and press enter. So the total amount that was disbursed on higher learning in Nairobi is that one that we've been able to get there. This is the total amount disbursed. So that is how we use the sum ifs. If you are given it two conditions, they want the total amount of money, and number two is for higher learning, and this should be from a specific county, Nairobi. That is how, in this case, you are required to do that. I'm hoping that is okay. Everyone is gotten that. And all for those that have joined today, you may be able to lose a little bit, but once you go through that part, as I've said that I did in the previous class, then all will be well. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. So I will have updated that by tomorrow. Anyone asking question? Um, I know, Brian, you might be plotting, but we'll see what to do. Now that where we are doing a continuation of the question. But however, I'll try. At least you get what we are doing. But we can just continue. Meanwhile, we'll give you the access to the recording. Make sure that you go through video 1, video 2, and video 3. It will be covering all the things that we are talking about, and particularly on this particular question. So on some and some ifs and some ifs, I'm hoping that is okay. Now there is another thing we talk of as what we call the sum product. Let me introduce this here. I can talk of it here. The sum product. We can talk of what we call the sum product. Talk of what we call the sum product. Sum product. Now, because I want to finalize on the part for the sums. Now, sum products, it helps us to multiply what we call the corresponding components in given arrays. And generally, this is what I mean. You may be having what we call, let me talk of items, yeah? I can have the quantity. I can have the cost per unit. Per unit. And I can have what we call the amount. I want to take care very carefully. Let me assume I'm having maize. I'm having what we call the beans. I'm having rice, yeah? Rice. I'm having. We can also have what we call what? Bread. Let me just have those two items. Yeah, this is 23. Can have this as 50. Can have this as 45. Can have also this as 80. that way. Then we have the cost per unit here. I can have it as 100. You can also have for the beans as 120. Can have for the rice 150. Can have for the bread 75. Now there's some product here. It normally helps us to get the total without doing the multiplication for each. Like we have for this, we will multiply here and this to get the total. Some product can do all these for you just in once. This is what I mean. I will come here, I say sum is equals sum product. Just say sum product here. So the array 1 is 1. I write that. You put a comma. Then you go to array 2 and you close your bracket. Once you do that, you can place an enter. So the total for all these items, it is 2130. You can confirm this should be is equals 23. You multiply by multiplication, you use a star times 100, press enter. Once I do that, I can automatically autofill there. And then once you do that, and automatically out. This one, oh, they have not considered all the value. That is why. Now this is it. Uh, 23 times 100. I think but he only took 23 for each. So this should be now. However, this should change here. This should be 20 is equals. I think I've done it from there is equals the 50. You multiply by. I'm just multiplying all this is equals 50. Multiply by 20 that way. So you can autofill. Yeah, that way. Yeah. So if I get the summation here, alt is equals enter. It is the total. So this is what I made. If you want to get the summation of a given product with their cost, you can use what we call the sum product. And then you'll be able to get your all your total ones. So that is how we apply this sum product. I've done this because we are talking about the summations so that you can now be recalling when you talk about the sum product. Let's continue. From this question, we've been done Roman 1, Roman 2. We've done the number of our connectivity by using the count. We've done the total number of money disbursed by the National Treasury by using the summation. And this is how what has done, been able to introduce us to all the sum if and the sum ifs. Now, I want to talk of now on average. This is how the question was. The average budget of social services project in Nanti County. Now, let me just have this here. Just come here, your love is equals. I will copy this question here. So before I do this question, let me just begin with the average. Only on the average. So I'll just say the average budget, let me use a budget, the average budget, even only that, the average budget. Average is a total divided by the number of projects that have been used. So here, I will use what we call the average function. The average. We will use this average function. I'm talking about this average. If you are looking for only average, you use the average function. Average is just the total divided by the number of projects here. So you just say is equals, you type the average here. So average here, you just come here on the budgeted. Remember it was on budget. So I'll highlight on the budget all that you press, oh sorry, I think I've double clicked. So let me just repeat again. It will be is equals average. Average, you just highlight the values. The average we want for the project. Where is it? The budgeted here. So control, you highlight that. You put the comma, the brackets, press enter. So average out of the total is 138,017. What I mean is on average, what they were able to spend on all the to budget on all the projects is this one. So that is for average. If you are getting the mean, average is simply the mean, arithmetic mean. Now on Roman number 2, before I get to this one, there is what we call before I get to this, let me introduce another question there. Before we get to this, what if you are asked the average budget, the average budget of, let's say, social services? The way the examiner there is talking of specific services projects. Now, I said when you are talking about one condition, when you are given the one condition, is when you use the sum if. If you are introducing more than one condition, is where you use the sum what? The sum ifs. So here, the average will be is equals the average if. This one. So we want the reach criteria. And then now we want the average of what? We want the average of the social services. So we'll just come to where the social services are. This is on project focus. Here you can highlight that. You put a comma. Then we want on the social services. That is the criteria. You put a comma there again. The range, then criteria. Now the average range. The average is on for the budget. So I'll go to where the budget is. Here the average. Control Shift arrow down. Then you can place the brackets here. You can close the brackets and you place enter. So this is the total average of the social services projects that were implemented. So services projects that have been implemented. the average. This is on what we call the average what? Simply the average if. Now, on average, if is now, for this one, they want the average of social services projects in Nandi County. Here they are specific, yes. For it to be a service, social service projects, but in where? In Nandi. So to get this, we are giving it more than two conditions, and therefore we will introduce ourselves to what we call the average what? If. So here, can say is equals the average if. Now this is the average rate. Where do we want to get the average? Is on the budget. So I'll just come here, highlight the budget, Control Shift pamoja, arrow down. Then can have comma. We want what we call the criteria range 1. Now we want the average for social services in Nandi County. So we go to the project focus then. This is our criteria 1. Yeah, Control Shift, arrow down, comma. We want for social services. I'll click the social services, comma. We want for the criteria 2 is now for the county. I'll go to the criteria 2, county here, Control Shift, arrow down, comma. Then this is for Nandi. So I need to look for Nandi. It is here, Nandi. And then you close your brackets. Once you do that, let's enter. This is what should be our average in Nandi. And we're using the average ifs. Is that okay? Any question up to that point? Say that the class is always free to everyone. You ask your question. For those that you've been able to join today, for that part that I've done, you will have to bear with us. But as I've said, you will have access to the recording. You review at your own time. Now, on average and average ifs and average ifs, anyone who might be having a question on that? The recordings are in the app. So I will, if you're not been able to get access to the recording, I will help you to get the access to the recording. Immediately after the class, you can reach out. I will help you to have access to the recording. Now, do we proceed? I'm asking those that have been in my class, Terry, Cherimo, and Florence, and Grace, all of you.
Could you kindly repeat the average ifs one more time?
Average what?
The average ifs, the last one, yes.
The last one. All right. Now let's just go there again. Now, what we want to know the average budget of social services in Nandi County. So, kuna average, which is for the budget. There is what we call the social services project, but this is to a specific county. I said when you are given the exam, more than two conditions, because there is two conditions, the average of the social services. You have to ensure that in this case, the if is 1. But if you are given it more than two conditions, then you will use the average ifs, which I said you say is equals average ifs. Once you click on the average if, the average rate is where you want to get the average from, which is on the budget. So I will just come to the budget. Yeah. Control Shift arrow down. Once you do that, you put a comma. They want the criteria range 1. First is on the project focus. So you just come to the project focus here. Where we have in the social services, you highlight, Control Shift, arrow down, put a comma. Once you put a comma, that is from criteria 1. What do you want from criteria 1? Social service. You click on the social service, put a comma. You go to criteria rate 2 is now from what we call in the counties. So I'll just go to what we call the county here. I write Control Shift arrow down, put a comma. There is a criteria rate 2 we want for what we call in Nandi what? Nandi County. So you check on Nandi. In my case, Nandi. I just want for Nandi is somewhere here. Click on Nandi. And then you close the brackets. Once you do that, press enter and you get that. That is okay. Chelimo.
Yes, yes, thank you.
All right. So I'm allowed to now proceed. Roman 4 here. Before we get to other things. Now, there is now on what we call the creation of Vivo table. This is the budgeted budget on what we call the budget allocated per project. We now maintain the pivot table. Now, this is on what we call the data visualization. In data visualization, here we'll create what we call the pivot table and what we call the graphs. In like for example, here they wanted the graphs. So I can create that. I will have it still here down here is equals. Now there, they create pivot table. So we want first the pivot table for is just a budget allocated as per what? The project. So this is what I will do. You will come here, you highlight all your data. So let me highlight all the data from here, from the project here. So you just come here, you click that, Control Shift, arrow to the right, then down. You highlight the old data. You highlight the old data. You go to Insert. On Insert, you see what we call the people table. We have the recommended Vivo table. So I can click on the recommended Vivo table, which is this one. You will just say here, okay, recommended Vivo table. However, I've done a mistake. I want it to appear still on my Excel sheet, the one that I'm doing. So you just come here, you click on insert, commended. Here is you can change the source. So I will take it where you can just click here. You bring to your data here. I want it somewhere here. That way. So once you do that, you click OK. Did I do wrong? Or select the table. Uh, So select here. Data reference is bad. Let me repeat again. I will highlight my data again. Or is already highlighted. So pivot table. Let me use existing. Is one. You do that way. So let me just repeat. All right, let me repeat again now. So you highlight the old data. And just first highlight the old data. So you just come here to where we have it. Yeah. You click on project, control shift arrow to the right, arrow down. Then you will go to insert pivot table here, pivot table. We want to the existing sheet. So you just click here. Then you will go to where we want to place our pivot table that way. And then we just say okay that way. So once you do that, our we want to have it as a budgeted per project. So this is what I will do. We will have the project here, project, and then you will also drag the what? The budget. So where is the budget? This one. Also have the budgets there, the values. That is the people table for that. The budget allocated per project. So this is the row, and then we have what we calling the column. That is for the Roman one. The pivot table for the budget allocated per project. That is how we draw that. Then we'll have the second one is equals. The second question they want also for the amount disbursed per project what? Forecast. Amount disbursed per project forecast. You just come and copy this. This one and copy here. Control you paste that way. So here now we want on amount disbursed per project forecast. So now that we'll have is a project, the project against the amount disbursed. This is the amount disbursed amount that way. So this should be on the values. But when you look at the We want the project focus again as what? The disburse. Here, if you look at the Excel, my Excel is talking about what? What we call the count. In our case, we want the amount. So you just come and click here, the value shield. Or I will I will just put the what? We want sum. So you click that, then you'll say, okay, it will give you the amounts. So this is the amounts and disbursed per project focus. So if it does or it brings account here, generally that is how we'll just be able to do that one. So is that okay? Minutes. Is that okay? Has everyone gotten that? The amount is passed per project item. Is it okay up to that point? The amount is passed as per the project focus. Iko sawa. Is it okay up to that point? If you insert in the Excel sheet on the same data, I say the first thing you highlight here. You have to highlight all this, draw shift, arrow, then you highlight that. You just come to insert pivot table. Here you click here, table on the existing worksheet. Then you click here. If you click here on the far corner, you will have to take your cursor where you want to input what? Your pivot table. So if you want it somewhere here, you can just come here. I, for example, have it here. Once you do that, cross that, then press OK. And then now from there, you choose what you want. From here, like for example, I needed for the project, you have to bring it there. For the sum is on the budget here. This should be for the values. So that one you will close that. That is it. That is for this one. That is it. So that if you want to know for the other one, you simply write this, you copy, then you paste down here. Once you paste there, you'll also click again on this one. Sorry, and I've done a mistake there, and I don't know whether I'd saved my data. I have not saved my data, so returns me to square zero. Hmm. I had not saved my data. I just forgot to save, but it's okay. We'll just continue there. It's always good when you are doing your data, you keep on saving. Sifanye makosa yenye nimefanya. But it's okay. This is all in recording. For those that will be using the recording, you will have seen what I've done. Now, I was doing on what we call the creation of pivot table. So I just want to repeat on that very fast. This one, the creation of pivot table equals, yeah. So on the pivot table, this is what I've said we create them. You will come here, you highlight the old data from the project. Click project ID. You have for control shift arrow to the left, arrow down. That is the shift. Once you highlight, you will go to what we call the insert. On insert, you will have what we call the pivot what? Insert pivot table. So you click there from the table. You want from the existing worksheet, the one that we are still using, you click on the far corner there, and then you just come here, you place the cursor there. Then from there, you click OK. Once you do that, is now the budgeted per allocated per project. So I will highlight project which will be on the row, and then the budget. Here it will be for the values. That is how we do for that one. Then you'll go to the second one here. You just, the Roman number 2 was Roman 2. It was the amount is based per project focus. This is a per project focus item. I will still highlight this. Control C. You just come here, you paste again, paste that way. Once you do that, you can just come here. Here we want for, it should be now, this is amount disbursed per project focus. So we want this. So I will remove the project. Then I will move the budget, and what we want is the disbursed amount. So disbursed amount should be on this side. So here I should remove the disbursed amount that way. Now when you look at here, the disbursed amount, it has shown as the count, and we want the shillings. So you will come here and validate the viewed by clicking on it. You go to value setting. What we want is sum, not the count. So you click OK. So it changes. That is on the sum of the disbursed amount. Roman 3. Yeah. They want the project cost administration, and this is now showing the what? The trades. So the project and administration showing trades in years. So the project and the administration showing years and months. So that is it. You will still come here, you copy here, first year. So what we want is we want the dates. We need the dates there. We don't need the project. We need dates. This is again as a project cost and administrative cost that way. So if you click here, they want showing the date. So I'll just come here, click on that. This they want also on the years here. The years, I cannot have them in months. So yes. So what I'll do, I'll just come here. Or you just come here. We want for the months. So let me see where we can. Yeah, this is it. So I only want months. Months. Yes. So here you just come here on row field setting. So there is a way we change the months here. Or what I do, I will remove. Yes, should be there. Remove the. Oh, you first click here. That way. Yeah. So what I'll do, I just come here. From up there, you will remove that field, and you also remove. I think that is okay. Once you remove the field, the others you can autofill that way. That way. That way. So you just remove only the field for the quarter. If you click on that, this is how now they wanted all that information. So that is how we do the what we call the Vivo table. That is how we create them. Hoping that is okay. Any question on the Vivo table? Any question on the Vivo table? Now for graphs, the last part. Before we now come and introduce ourselves to other things, the advanced analytical functions again. So here, they want us we also look for what we call the what with the summaries in B. Summaries in B. They want we use create appropriate visualization with the focus below. So visualization with the focus below. First one is on budgeted, allocated for this. So it's now on this. Let me copy this to have it here. And copy this. You have it down here. Now this is on what we call the graphs. So you will highlight that. Once you highlight, you will come to insert recommended charts. So here we can use the table. You just come here, you have it somewhere here. That way. So that is for that one. Can have what we call a bar chart. Then you go to the, if you want to minimize, this is how you can minimize. If you want to minimize it to fit your data. We go to Roman number 2. They want amount disbursed. This is on what we call proportionality. Now, we now talk about what we call the graphs that we use for proportionality. Now, we use what we call the a graph that is for proportionality. You will just come here first. Let me copy this for proportionality. This one. We want now a graph that we can use for proportionality. You still come here, insert, you'll have the graphs here. Now, if you look at the column, the others that they explain what they do, let me see. Now, if you want proportionality is generally what we call the line graphs. So I'll just have the line what? Line graphs are the one that show what we call the proportionality. Therefore, you just come here, you click on one, the one that probably you want. I can use that. So you'll have it okay there. That is on proportionality. And then the last graph will be on what we call what? The trend. The trend. It's just on this particular data that we are having. So you'll have the same data. Yeah. Paste it here. So once you highlight it that way, you will also go to what we call the insert recommended charts. Now on our case here, they want what we call the graph that shows what? The trend. The trend. Trend graphs, you can also use the line graphs. Yeah, we also use the line graphs to show the trend. So yeah, you'll have that. And then you can just have it here. This is it. So the line graph, you can also use it to show the trend. Here you can also use what we call you can also use the pie chart, this one. For example, if I talk of pie charts can also show what we call the proportionality. So here you can also use the pie chart. There is no problem if you use the pie chart or you use the line graph. And that is how we do the data visualization. So any question on what we call the graphs?
Jacket, could you kindly go back to Roman 3?
Roman
I'd
3.
like to, yes.
On graphs.
Yeah, on graphs, on the pivot
Table.
table.
Yeah.
The trend for showing years and months.
This one.
Yes.
For month.
So it's rollable.
All right.
Okay.
This one.
I want. Yes. No, the other one. The one. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I think I cancelled. I don't know whether I can be able to turn back. You don't close, you just come here. Okay, let me just I can just create that pivot table. Yeah, let me just highlight them. Because once you ensure when let me just show you when you just insert here pivot table. So here is the existing. So I can just come here and select. Yeah, somewhere here. Let me just have it there. And then now ensure when you are doing the pivot table, never close on this. On this one. Never ever close. If you want to remove it, you just click here and then you click again, it shows up. If you click on the close, it will disappear. So when you copy, you will not be able to copy that. So this one, we were talking about the dates against what we call the project cost and administrative cost. Was it that way? Right?
Yes.
So for the date here, this is what I do. I will first highlight this and then include that. All right. You click on the month, click on the quarter. It shows the months. Also, Up to that point is okay?
Yes, yes.
So then you will come here. Unapa kwa scroll. Click here and you click the quarter. You see the quarter here? Click that quarter that way. Is that okay?
Yes, yes, it is.
Then you remove the field. It's just that way. Then once you do that, you utakuja click hivyo. Click also that way. Click also that way. And click all that way. Then you will have done that. Itakuwa imeisha. Is that okay now?
Yes, yes, it's okay. Thank you. Yes, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay. So any other person who is having a question? Any other person who is having a question? Anyone who is having a question? And then that marks the end of what? That particular class. So I'll talk of now what we call the advanced. My next class will be what we call the advanced analytical functions, where we'll talk of already if you look up, we've talked about that. I'll not repeat on that. I'll talk of Power Query. I'll talk of Power Query. I will also talk of Power what? The X lookup. Talk of the H lookup. The next class, and then I can also introduce some bit of what we call the Power BI. Evo 2. That is what we'll be able to talk about in now the next class. So we can meet in the next class. We talk about those items that have been able to say analytical functions. So before we meet on Wednesday, those that have not been able to join from the previous class, you will have the access to the recording. So make use of the recordings before we meet in the other class.
Mwalimu, a question.
For
the next class on advanced analytical functions, now we are going to look on VLOOKUP. We already did. My question now goes to number 4, the HLOOKUP.
Yeah, this one will talk about them. The horizontal. I'm looking for data that is horizontally arranged to help us to match the data.
What if for those who we have a laptop that doesn't support the HLOOKUP? What are we supposed to use?
You have a laptop that does not support that.
Yeah, like last time I was really struggling. I couldn't able to find the HLOOKUP.
HLOOKUP. If I look at, in your case, if can you just type HLOOKUP, you see whether you can be able to see it. You're using which Excel?
If I type the HLOOKUP, it doesn't give me the HLOOKUP. It's giving me only the VLOOKUP.
I'm asking, are you aware of the Excel that you are using? Can you just confirm whether the Excel that you are using is from 2021? Just go to the file you go to what we call in more here, and then you click on this account. Here it will tell you the Excel that you're using. And I said the most recommended one, and that's the one that you can also use, because I said you will use your laptop in doing your exams. Ensure that you have been installed to the latest Office or Windows. Definitely it will help you. Okay? So for the Excel, if it is not having a particular function, it means that it is not updated to the current. Is that okay, Terry? Yes?
Yes, it's okay.
Yeah, so make sure that you update it to the current. Because for you to access all those Excel functions, it has to be that as per the Excel. So we can end at that point for today, unless there is anyone else having question. Grace, Hilda, Janet, and the rest, Florence. Is there anyone who is having any other question? All right. No question then. We can end at that point and then continue from there. So the question that we have done is a question that was there for 20 marks. So if the practice is a question that you can even do in less than 20 minutes. It's a very simple question. You've even seen there was no struggle in doing it. So we continue from there in our next class. Can all have a good night and then meet in the next class. Sawa sawa. Now weekend, you enjoy your weekend now that you are starting the weekend as from tomorrow. So let's continue from there in our next class.